Ah, the Benthic Bloom, an item so polarizing that I almost never see it anywhere but S or F on most tier lists. In everybody's mind it either kills builds or wins runs, and so that sparks the question, is it actually good or bad? And why exactly is the public opinion so split on this item? I'll try to answer both of these questions in this video. Hey hello everybody, Isotron here, and today we're taking a look at Benthic Bloom, the corrupted variant of one of, if not the best items in the game, 57 Leaf Clover. I want to preface this video by saying that this is highly opinion based and you might not agree with certain points in this video. If that's the case, instead of clicking off the video, consider going down to the comments and tell me your opinion on the item. I'd love to read and respond to your comments. Without further ado, let's get into Benthic Bloom. Let's start by analyzing the item itself. Benthic Bloom's effect is defined as upgrades 3 plus 3 per stack random items to items of the next higher rarity at the start of each stage. Corrupts all 57 leaf clovers. An important note to make here is that Benthic Bloom doesn't actually upgrade 3 items at a time, and instead upgrades 3 whole stacks at a time, meaning it will take all items of 3 certain types and move them up a tier, so your 4 stacks of Lensmaker's glasses aren't safe. Now let's get into the technicalities of Benthic. Its choice of items is random and isn't affected by scrap, so you can't force it to take less needed items that you scrap. What's not random is what certain items upgrade into. As you might know, there are special category chests in Risk of Rain 2. They're broken down into 3 categories: damage, healing and utility. The category decides which items can be dropped by this chest. You see, Benthic Bloom uses these categories as well, so items belonging to a certain category cannot turn into an item of a different category. Here's an example. A sticky bomb is considered a damage item, and it will stick to that category as it evolves, meaning it cannot be turned into Leeching Seed, as that item is in the healing category. There also exist items that are in 2 categories at once. For example, the infusion belongs to both the utility and healing categories, so the item it upgrades into can belong to either of those categories. There are category pages on the Risk of Rain 2 wiki that you can study to learn the patterns of item upgrading. However, it's pretty simple to understand. If the item increases your DPS, it's in the damage category, if it heals you, it's in healing, and if it does neither, it's utility. Now, let's talk about how this item impacts runs. Receiving a Benthic Bloom early into a run is a massive power boost, and usually it results in the easiest 6mm run wins ever. The low amount of items that you usually have at stages 1 to 3 means that you most likely won't have any item synergies, so upgrading them to reds is great, as red items usually give much better effects than white or green items without synergies. However, there are 2 situations where I would highly advise against Benthic Bloom, those being getting the item when you have a build going and when you have a 57 with clover that is impacting the run. At stage 4 green multi-shops start spawning, and the item density increases drastically, allowing for the creation of a build. This is also where you can get a guaranteed red item, and thus stage 4 is the breaking point for Benthic Bloom. Having a proc-based build with a clover prior to seeing a Benthic Bloom also makes the item entirely undesirable, as it will corrupt the much needed clovers into itself, destroying the build and putting your run at risk for a couple stages. But enough of the negatives and the realistic situations. How does one exactly make a Benthic Bloom run work? Well, as mentioned before, if you obtain the item early, there isn't much you have to do. By stage 6 you're most likely unstoppable, and you just have to walk to Mithrix and show him the true power of the baubles and trinkets he despises. Getting it late is a whole different story. You will be faced with the destruction of your build, inability to obtain clovers, and most importantly, base stat issues. But there are ways to offset the negatives. My favorite and by far the most uncontrollable way is through egocentrism. When getting that item, all your other items will start to slowly assimilate into more egocentrisms, increasing the bomb count and their spawn speed. Also, as egocentrism is a lunar item, it's unaffected by the Benthic Bloom's effect, and there is no higher tier for lunars. The same goes for yellow and void items. The lots of orbiting bombs from egocentrism will help you proc items like Symbiotic Scorpion and Shattering Justice, while also offsetting the low attack speed you have on a Benthic run. It's also great for enabling close range reds such as the Frost Relic or the unstable Tesla Coil. Overall, the item is fantastic support for a Benthic run, but it gets way better when you find a cleansing pool. You see, in Risk of Rain 2 there exists a very rare interactable, called the cleansing pool. When used, it transforms one random lunar item in the player's inventory into either a pearl or an Irradiant Pearl. The Irradiant Pearl can only be obtained at 20% chance, and it is the primary focus of why the cleansing pools are so essential to Benthic Bloom runs specifically. But why is it so important? Well, as you will find out in due time while running a Benthic Bloom build, there isn't a way for you to preserve common items, and without those items, you can no longer gain simple stat upgrades, which is the core of any Risk of Rain build at all. But the Radiant Pearl can solve that issue. You see, a single Radiant Pearl has the same stat boosts as 2/3 of a goat hoof, 2/3 of a syringe, a pair of crit glasses, half of a watch, 1/10 of a transcendence without the side effect, as well as plus 10% health regen and even 10% to armor on all survivors with starting armor. That's accurate, loader, multi, mercenary and Rex. Getting to a pleasant pool with 25 stacks of egocentrism yields you 5 Irradiant Pearls on average, which makes for a fantastic boost in power. But not only the rare variant is great, the normal Pearl has an interesting synergy as well, but we'll get to that in the next segment. Now onto what probably is the most important part of a Benthic Bloom run, and that is Void items and the synergies with Red, Lunar and Boss items. Chances are, by the time you find yourself a Benthic Bloom, you're gonna have at least a couple Void items already. Some of them work really well with certain red and yellow items, and those synergies need to be highlighted and prioritized whenever you are on a Benthic run, to increase your chance of success dramatically. As not to stretch out the video far too long, I am going to quickly list some Void items worth taking and how they help your build, so pay attention. Lost Tears lenses are a great pickup, as you'll get more crit from Irradiant Pearls and its effect can be extended even to bosses via a brilliant Behemoth's explosion exploit. Plasma Shrimp is fantastic, as it gets buffed tremendously with Pocket ICBM and allows for lots of damage as well as great procs for Symbiotic Scorpion, Shatterspleen, Shattering Justice, Neolitix. Basically it procs a lot. Polyloot also procs and provides a higher damage output, but its main purpose is for rapidly activating Plasma Shrimp, which is just a better version of Polyloot when you have Pocket ICBM. Tentabobble is your crowd control and also the main way to keep Mistrix away. Ooh, that's a nice rhyme. Neolithic is great, as it allows your rapid Polyloot and Plasma Shrimp procs have a good secondary effect. Also, it's kinda a necessity in any run with Shatterspleen and max crit, as you can no longer inflict 2 bleed with 1 hit. Whipping Fungus is fantastic, because with enough of this item, you can hold your sprint key and watch the world burn. This is where we come back to the normal Pearl from cleansing pools, as well as Nkuhana's opinion. Whipping Fungus is a percentage-based heal, meaning its numerical effectiveness will only grow as you gain more HP, which is exactly the stat that the Pearl provides. Another item that strives off of max HP is Nkuhana's opinion, as its damage is calculated from your max HP and not from your damage stat. Rapid healing from Fungus will quickly activate Nkuhana's and demolish everything in your path with no input from the player, besides your movement. And don't worry about having a low amount of Fungus, as Rejuvenation Rack has got you covered on the healing front. The last item I want to point out in terms of synergy is a Trophy Hunter Strike-On. You've heard me mention yellow items and their importance loads of times, so, obviously, the equipment that allows you to get those items easily will be a priority equipment for Benthic Bloom. And that's kind of it for my Benthic Bloom overview video. I'm not going to end this video with a concrete statement of the effectiveness on Benthic Bloom. However, I personally find it to be very effective and even overpowered in the right hands. I definitely recommend trying this item out, as it's a lot of fun regardless of its power, and for all of you eager to Pearl Run enjoyers, here's a new toy to play with. Anyways, thank you for watching, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, and take care everybody. Goodbye!